Monday morning and I guess the first full day of the new campaign as we head toward the general election. Kyle Melinn is with us from MIRS News in our Gillespie Group storefront studio. The morning after all the shouting and conventioneering went on. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael Patrick.
Did anything unexpected or interesting happen at the conventions, or was it pretty much what we expected?
Well, I guess it depends which one you were at. If you were at the Democratic convention, everything went according to script. Everything went as they were supposed to be nominated. All the cheering happened when they were supposed to be cheered. It was almost like watching a production, if you will. The Republican one was a little different. I mean, we actually had some contested floor fights. You had actually a fight on the rules. You knew it was going to be a good day when at 8:30 a rules committee met, and they had 2 votes, and they tied 15-15 on both votes.
Wow.
So you knew it was going to be a good day as far as something exciting happened. And then at the Breslin Center, where the Republican one was held, things got off to a rocky start when the credentialing and actually letting people into the building took forever. And people were wrapped around the building. They were all the way to Kalamazoo lined up trying to get into the Breslin Center. Just not used to having a convention in the Breslin Center. It was a complete mess. Then when they finally got in, the voting started. We had 3 very contested races: Attorney General, Secretary of State, and one of the spots on the Board of Regents, and those were all nail-biters to the end.
The big nail-biter was Mike Bishop and Bill Schuette, and what surprised me about that is Mike Bishop was going around saying 2 weeks ago that he had polling that suggested he had a huge lead.
Yeah, you know what? And going into the convention, and I think a month out from the convention, everybody had written Mike Bishop off. I think they thought that he hadn't done anything as far as trying to raise the support of delegates. You got to remember that for these conventions, it doesn't really matter what polls say. It just matters how many contacts you've made in the convention. I mean, there's really only 2,000 people voting, and you can micro tag those 2,000 people and get those votes. At one point, I remember Bill Schuette sent out a press release that said he had 1,000 delegates already, or 1,000 endorsements already in the can. And Bishop didn't really seem to be getting off the dime. So I was really impressed that Mike Bishop had actually gotten as close as he did. I think that there was kind of a come-to-Jesus meeting with him and his staff, a month or 3 wees out after the work at the legislature was done, said, hey, I'm getting my tail kicked here. I really need some work. And what happened was after the Tea Party people, I don't know if you knew about this, the Tea Party people came in and took over a lot of these county conventions and named themselves delegates to this state convention. Maybe upwards to 30 to 40% of the delegates at this Breslin Center convention were absolutely new to the process. They were not the people that Bill Schuette had been targeting. And so it gave new life to Mike Bishop. He now had a new crop of people he could campaign with. And as it turned out, they all knew Mike Bishop for standing up to Jennifer Granholm's, quote-unquote tax increases and fee increases, whatever. And all of a sudden, he was popular. It gave new life to Mike Bishop's campaign, and he really made it close.
Do they release the numbers? How close did he come?
It was roughly around 1,000 and change to 900 and change.
Oh, so it was very close.
Oh, yeah, it was down to 5 percentage points or something of that nature.
So now he exits the stage, Mike Bishop, having obviously what you just said, the fact that he really held the line against taxes, that appeals to the Tea Party crowd.
Absolutely. And you know what another thing was, too, that we found out is when Bill Schuette went up and spoke with the Tea Party folks out in Holt, they also didn't like the idea that they felt like he was a professional politician. And they don't like that also. I mean, we kind of found out what Tea Party folks like and don't like from that Holt gathering. We also found out they don't like personal attacks or attacks in any way, shape, or form against other people. They found those unseemly. They were more interested in your stance on some issues. They were very obviously free government and what you stood on, like health care, the national health care issue, that was very important to them. Taxes, obviously. Maybe not so much social issues, but it was those pocketbook issues, and they really liked people who seemed genuine or somewhat new to the process. And I know Mike Bishop isn't necessarily new to the process, but he didn't come across that way, and that's why he was attractive.
Well, Bill Schuette is a really awesome speaker, and a great campaigner, isn't he? If you want to say he's a professional politician, he sort of is. Having been, in the Congress, he ran statewide for U.S. Senate and was the ag director. I mean, he's and a judge. Smooth cat. How will he do in the general?
I think he'll do well. I mean, you're exactly right. He is a politician. He's made a living doing it. But the thing is he's good at it. I mean, you don't get appointed or elected to all those positions if you're not somewhat good at it. I mean,
so it doesn't have to be a pejorative.
No, I mean,
Professional politician.
It's not, but you know what? That's what David Layton, the Democratic nominee, is going to go after Bill Schuette for. That he's more a professional politician than he is maybe a prosecutor or an attorney or whatnot. But Bill Schuette knows his way around the block. He knows people who are in these individual communities where he's going to be campaigning. So he has connections. He has ins. I think he's going to do very well in the general election.
One way or another, we're going to have another female Secretary of State, it turns out.
Yeah. That race was actually the most contentious, I think, because we had 5 candidates on the Republican convention. And really, we knew Ruth Johnson had a lot of support. We thought that she was going to do well. But we thought Paul Scott, the state representative out of Grand Blanc, would do really well. We thought it might come down to them, too. Cameron Brown did very well with the Tea Party people and ended up being in a runoff with Ruth Johnson, the clerk from Oakland County. It was just, this is a race that's been going on literally since January 2009, which is kind of hilarious to think about. When you're trying to appeal to 2,000 people, you don't know who they're going to be. But Cameron Brown, Michelle McManus were right out of the gate practically in January of 2009 saying they wanted to run for this post. So from the get-go, we really didn't know what was going to happen with that one. And then on the Democratic side, the wheels have been greased for Jocelyn Benson for, since April, May. She has really impressed the Democratic brass, too. They think that she's going to be possibly a Jennifer Granholm type, someone who could ride out this Republican surge that we're seeing right now and win on the general election ticket when maybe the rest ticket isn't going to fare as well.
32 years old.
Yeah, and
Jocelyn Benson is.
That's surprising. I hadn't thought of that. But she doesn't come across that way. She
No.
doesn't come across as that young or immature, I guess. I mean, what really impressed me about Jocelyn Benson is that she actually wrote a book on being Secretary of State. I mean, I know she's a Wayne State University professor, and this is part of her job to talk about elections and whatnot. But she actually went and looked at the best practices of states across the country and compiled a book, for crying out loud, on what actually works the best. Now that's some research on doing your job.
Yeah, she presents well too, and interviews very well, I think.
I agree.
Well, why is Bob Colt saying that Verge Bernero's choice for a running mate doesn't give him any lift? Is that true?
Well, maybe, but I mean, what does give him lift? First of all, is Bob Colt's quote right? Yeah, probably. But I don't know what pick I don't know what pick he could to make any seismic shift. I mean, who is he going to get to run with him on the ticket? Name a popular Democratic politician. Debbie Stabenow, she wouldn't have been interested. Jim Blanchard, I can't believe on earth he would be interested.
Dennis Archer?
Dennis Archer wouldn't be interested. I mean, he would, if he wasn't interested in the number 1 spot, he certainly wouldn't be interested in the number 2 spot. So as you start ticking off big names, I mean, it doesn't take you very long to realize, you're not going to get a big wow at number 2 because nobody wants to put their lives or careers on hold for what's going to be a very, very tough campaign for Verge Bernero. I mean, he went with a mayor, and you almost have to in this case because mayors are not up for election this year in most cities. And so they can go ahead and take this flyer and just see how it goes. Maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't work for them. He could have gone with a term-limited state representative or a term-limited state senator. But he was kind of hamstrung on who he could pick because of the early convention for the Democrats. They already had 3 white candidates on the ticket. And since 1970, the Democrats have had racial diversity on the ticket. It's very important to them. And Verge really had to pick an African-American. So there again, your choices are narrowed more. You also argue that he needed someone from Southwest Michigan. Again, that narrows the field. So unless he was going to go with Brenda Lawrence, Alan Wheeler-Smith, Buzz Thomas, or somebody from the business sector, I don't know who he was going to pick.
If you wouldn't mind putting those headphones on, it seems we have a question. It's a caller. Josh is ringing in from Grand Rapids at 888-900-9966. Good morning, Josh. Political question?
I do. Well, actually, I just wanted to make a statement on, by the way, this guy's awesome. He's amazing.
Of course he is.
Thank you.
The whole Bill Schuette thing, I had the pleasure of hearing him speak about 2 months ago. And, if he was a career politician, then he would have stayed a judge. He was appointed a judge. He could have been there for forever. And, that's what a lot of these guys do. And then what they do is, with the robe on, they become, the legislative. And he said, no, I care about Michigan, and I think he was passionate about it. And, he wouldn't be doing this because that job's no fun anyway.
What do you think?
Attorney General, that's Mike Cox.
It is interesting,
Thank you
Kyle,
so much.
isn't it? Thank you that some of these names that we've come to know so well are going to be completely erased off the slate now, like Mike Cox and Mike Bishop, and a whole new cast of characters. Terry Lynn Land will be gone, Governor Grant. I mean, it's a whole new, fresh start, it sounds like.
Yeah, it is. You kind of wonder what's going to happen with these people after they term limited out of office.
Yeah.
And even in the state Senate, we've got some people who are term limited and just done. For Jennifer Granholm, you would think that she's going to end up in the Obama administration somewhere. Mike Bishop has his own law practice. He can go back to law. I think he was taking this bid to Attorney General just because it would be the next logical step in his political career. But he's got young kids in Rochester, too. I mean, he doesn't need to come up to Lansing every week. I mean, that's got to be a pain on his schedule. So, he's got a career to fall back on. Mike Cox is a lawyer, and he's got connections in Wayne County, and I have to believe will find a job with, Detroit Medical Center or something. I'm sure that he'll fall on his feet. Terry Land, we heard some rumors last week that maybe she would run for state party chair for the Michigan Republicans.
Oh, that'd be a good spot for her, wouldn't it?
I think it would be a very good spot for her. Ron Weiser was here for a term to kind of raise some money and kind of build the coffers up of the party, but that's all over with now, and Terry Land could be a good spokesperson for the party.
We will read about it at mirsnews.com. Thank you very much for being here so early.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you, Michael Patrick.
Kyle Melinn, it's mirsnews.com, mirsnews.com, and it's 35 after the hour.